Welcome to the Day 4 video, which is section 1.4. As you will notice, this entire section is no calculator. We have two objectives. We are going to evaluate expressions using absolute value, and we are also going to solve absolute value equations. So the first thing we should probably talk about is, what is absolute value? Absolute value measures a number's distance from zero. So this is the symbol that you generally see. So you'll see something like this. This is saying how far is negative 7 from 0. Negative 7 from 0 is 7 units. How far is 7 units from 0? Well, 7 units is also 7. Can absolute value be negative? Well, does it make sense to say that a distance is negative? I live negative 10 miles from Prospect High School. No. Absolute value cannot be negative. Negative distances do not make sense. Can absolute value be 0? So, is there a point or multiple points that are 0 units from 0? Well, if we think of a number line, sorry, this should be -1. Okay, which units or which numbers are 0 units from 0? Well, the only one is on 0 itself. So, yes, the absolute value of 0 is equal to 0. That's the only time that absolute value is 0. Okay, so moving down, we have two evaluating examples. So example 1, it says evaluate for x equals 2. So I'm going to start by substituting in 2. So I have 2, subtract 3 multiplied by 2, add 4. So absolute value kind of acts as parentheses. So it's like there's invisible parentheses here. So I'm going to do what's inside the absolute value first. So I have 2 subtract 6, add 4. 2 subtract 6 is -4. Okay, I do not at this point add the -4 and the 4. I need to do the absolute value first. So how far is -4 from 0? -4 from 0 is 4 units. And then I still have the add 4. 4 add 4 gives me 8. So you should have gotten 8. Right now, pause the video and try example 2 on your own, please. When you come back, I will show you the answer, but not the work. Okay, you should have had a chance to try this one on your own. You should have substituted in start afresh. You should have started by substituting in -1/2. Okay, eventually you should have gotten +13. Okay, if you didn't get +13, that's okay, we'll go over it in class, but go back and see if you can find your mistake, please. When you come to class, I will be checking to see that you have all of the work and the correct answer. Okay, so that was page 12. Moving on. Quick trivia for you. I want to know, where did the ice cream sundae originate? I'm asking you because the ice cream sundae originated in some town in Illinois. The town is within an hour's drive of Mount Prospect or of Prospect High School. So come to class tomorrow with a guess for where the ice cream sundae originated. Put it somewhere on your notes and circle it. It's not Mount Prospect. Okay, next thing, we're moving on to solving. So here's an example. 2 multiplied by the absolute value of x subtract 100 is equal to 20. So step 1 is to isolate the absolute value. So if I rewrite my equation, I need to divide everything by 2. I end up with x subtract 100 is equal to 10, because the 2's cancel, and then 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, so the absolute value is now isolated. It's on one side of the equation. Next, we need to write two equations. So absolute value is distance from 0. We're saying that that distance from 0 is 10. So 10 is 10 units from 0. So I have x subtract 100 is equal to 10. What other number is 10 units from 0? Well, thinking of a number line, you go right to get to 10. If you start at 0 and you go left, though, you're going to hit -10. So -10 is also 10 units from 0. So anytime you're doing absolute value, you're always going to have two equations. Always. The positive and the negative. Now we need to solve both. So our left equation, adding 100, we get x equals 110. Adding 100 again, we get x equals 90. Okay, step 4 is very important, and it's the one that we tend to skip. You need to check for extraneous solutions. So you're always going to get two solutions, but they're not always going to work in the equation. So I'm going to substitute back in, going back to my original equation. So I have 110 subtract 100 equals 20. 110 subtract 100 is 10. The absolute value of 10 is 10. 10 is 10 units from 0. So I have 2 multiplied by 10 equals 20. Yes, that checks out. Now with 90. Okay, 90 subtract 100 is negative 10. Negative 10 is 10 units from 0. So I have 2 multiplied by 10 equals 20. Yes, that also checks out. I will tell you, it will not always check out. Sometimes you're going to have what's called an extraneous solution, so you solved correctly, but it doesn't actually work in the equation. Moving on, we have examples 4, 5, and 6. Right now, pause the video and try examples 4 and 5 on your own. So do them together. When you come back, I will help you with the answers. Okay, so you should have had a chance to try these on your own. Example 4, the first thing that you should have done was isolate the absolute value. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides, divide by 2. At this point, you should have written 2 equations. You end up with y equals 3 and y equals negative 11. If you did not get both of those, you need to go back and find your mistake. When I check tomorrow, I'm going to check to see that you have both of those answers and all of the corresponding work. Example 5, you should have divided by negative 2. So you get the absolute value of a equals negative 3. Okay, it's tempting to write 3a equals negative 3 and 3a equals positive 3. But we need to look at what this equation is telling us. This is telling us absolute value, the distance from 0 is negative 3. Does it make sense for me to say that I live negative 3 miles from Prospect High School? No, absolute value can never be negative. We don't have negative distances. So these equations do not work. At this point, we write no solution. No solution. You can't be a negative distance from 0. Last one that we have is example 6. We can see that the absolute value is already isolated. So I get x add 10 equals 4x minus 8. Then I'm going to have x plus 10 equals, I need a negative 4x minus 8. So just like we did earlier, positive 10 and negative 10. You always need a positive and a negative. When I subtract x, I get 3x. Adding 8, I get 18. So I get x equals 6. Okay, now I have x add 10 equals, distributing the negative, I get negative 4x, add 8. Adding 4x to both sides, I get 5x equals. Subtracting 10, I get negative 2. I know that I'm skipping steps, but I know that you all should be able to solve this correctly. And then dividing by 5, you get x equals negative 2 over 5. Okay, this is a case where you're going to get an extraneous solution. So if I substitute in 6, I get 6 add 10 equals 4 multiplied by 6, subtract 8. 6 add 10 is 16. Absolute value of 16 is 16. 4 multiplied by 16 is 24. 24 subtract 8 is also 16. That solution works. Now trying my other solution. Sorry, I ran out of room. If you trust me simplifying, this ends up being 9 and 3/5 equals negative 9 and 3/5. Those are not equal. This answer does not work. That's why it is so important that you go back and you check your answers, because occasionally you will run into extraneous solutions like that. Okay, so I just want to move back up, review one more time real quick. You always have to isolate the absolute value. Write 2 equations and solve both of them, so you're always going to get 2 answers, but you have to make sure you actually check those answers by substituting back into the original equation. When you come to class tomorrow, we're going to be doing some practice with evaluating absolute value and then solving equations. Make sure you bring a guess for the for where the first ice cream sundae originated. Thank you. See you in class.